Dean McClung, Arts and Monologues. Second segment of today's show. 23 February 2017. 23rd. I like 23. 23 is my number. All right. Well, and 9. Won't get into why I think so. I mean, why I think 23 is an awesome number. Some things you don't have to know. Some things you could just take my word for, because I'm not trying to prove anything about that to you. I'm not trying to convince you of anything about that. I just like the number 23. It's impressive to me. And probably fun. It probably falls under the category of, I got an opinion about that number. There may even be some facts related to the number 23. Like the fact that that would be, well, for example, today is month number 151 of my relationship with the woman that I live with. I call her woman. She calls me man. And I think that's cute. But the point is, we met on the 23rd of July. 12 years plus ago. Or was it 12 plus years ago? Anyway, month 151 for that relationship. And it's going fine. It's pretty solid. So far? Yes. So anyway, here's the thing. Happy 151 anniversary, dear. All right. It's been great, and it's going to get better, darling. It's going to get better. I promise. As if that's even possible. Yes, improvement is always possible. Evolution and possibilities are always options. All right, the thing about this other thing is, and here, let me give you just a little background. The United States government has proven itself to be evil. Now, would a man who is an atheist use the word evil? Some people want to assume that if a person uses the word evil, which means what it means, does that person not acknowledge that there is the opposite of evil, such as good, or positive and negative, yin and yang, up and down, black and white, yes and no, right and wrong? Well, I believe there is evil, and I believe there is also good. So there is that equation is complete in my thinking. The problem with the United States government is it's got a history, and that history is pretty clear and obvious. And even if you're not interested in the history of America and the United States government, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't be interested, but I guess there are people that just aren't interested. But I'm an exception to that. I am interested because it's interesting. And in your mind, if you're not interested, then I guess your mind's just not geared towards learning about things that are true and factual and significant in human evolution and human existence. Who doesn't want to know that, for example, the United States government is committing a crime against humanity and has been doing so on a daily basis for quite a long time? Now, I know there are people out there like these rednecks and hillbillies and so forth. America, love it or leave it. And, it used to bother me when people said that. I just wanted to slap the shit out of them. Fuck off, freaking idiot. Because, born here, raised here, lived here all my life. Probably die here in America. And I'm sorry to tell you, but if you believe your government is a good thing, you're fucking delusional. Seriously. There's just no way anybody in their right mind with half a brain cell to rub against another half a brain cell could possibly conclude that the United States government is good or righteous or pure or decent or law-abiding. The government doesn't obey the laws. It certainly doesn't obey the laws it passes, and it doesn't obey the laws of the Constitution, which is the law that tells the government what to do and what not to do, and what it can and cannot do, and so forth. For example, the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. And yet, the government is constantly trying to attack that right. And I don't mean the Second Amendment right. I mean the right, which has always existed through eternity, pretty much. I'm talking about the right, the natural, unalienable human right. Or as I like to say, human freedom. Because rights is just something if you have the ability to exercise it. Which you don't in America, pretty much. Which makes the United States government responsible for being a tyranny, a dictatorship, a police state, and a monster. And a terrorist organization. And that's not conjecture. That's fact. And every time I say something, there's always somebody out there, no matter what it is, that are going to criticize what I say and say something like really totally stupid in response to it. For example, the United States government has been committing crimes against humanity for a long, long time. That's fact, based on the history and the factual documentation and actual reality. And you could probably name 100 things right now. If you were actually, using your brain, you could come up with some pretty obvious factual examples of crimes against humanity being carried out by, have in the past, present, and most likely in the future, crimes against humanity. What is a crime against humanity? That's where, you violate humanity's right to exist, for example. When you send a drone over a country that's not your country, into like Pakistan or Syria or wherever, and you drop a bomb on somebody with that drone, you committed murder, and that's a crime against humanity because, number one, you're not fucking allowed to do that. That's just obvious. There's no question about that. The United Nations Charter, of which the United States is a member, signed the contract or the charter and agreed to abide by that charter, which says you can't go to foreign countries, invade foreign countries, that's a crime, and you can't go to these foreign countries and murder the people that live there. That's a crime against humanity. It is. There's nothing to say about that. There's no question. There's no argument there. It is, because that's what it is. You murder somebody, I'm sorry, you're guilty of murder. So it's against the law. And the government's doing it, so that makes the United States government a fucking international criminal state. And that's just true. That's not up for discussion. I want to talk about it, fine. Have a conversation with whoever you want, but you're not going to have it with me because everybody with a brain knows it's true. Do I need to name names? Do I need to point out the examples? Why should I have to do that? What the hell's wrong with your brain? Why don't you look it up yourself? If you don't know, do the research. I'm not your fucking school teacher. I'm not your fucking, I'm not doing your homework for you. Do your own homework. Besides, if I say it, you have no proof just because I said it. Look it up for yourself and you'll know. You'll have the evidence that I have in my head. Don't be a fucking pussy. All right. And don't argue with people about stupid shit when you don't know what you're talking about. Just boggles the mind. So anyway, there are a few things, and I will express those things. I've written a little thing here. I'm just going to read it to you. Verbatim. All right. Here it is. Quoting myself. I'm going to be blunt here, and I hope those Nazi police state turd worms are listening. You know what I'm talking about. NSA, CIA, FBI, all those other criminal bastards. I have publicly declared the United States government to be, 1, the enemy of humanity, plenty of evidence to prove that. 2, guilty of crimes against humanity, plenty of evidence and witnesses to prove that. There's no question there. 3, guilty of high treason against the Constitution, America, the principles of freedom, and humanity. And I guess I should throw in the American people. That's just true, because they did commit high treason. Because violating the Constitution, if you're a government official or a government entity, if you violate the Constitution, you've committed treason against that Constitution. And the principles do it attests to and says, hey, you're not allowed to do that, fucker. 4, the United States government is made up of liars, thieves, criminally insane monsters of the ilk of Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, and George W. Bush. Yep, George W. Bush made it to the top list. The top 5 list of evil beyond comprehension. Except we can't comprehend it because we have seen it. We have evidence that he did participate in, be responsible for, in the murder of millions, well, at least a million human beings on the planet. He is a criminal, George Bush. Not a question. He did criminal things. He's guilty. He violated his oath of office. That's treason. And at the end of that oath of office, he said, "So help me God," which has always meant, if I violate the law of the land, the Constitution, and disobey it and, commit acts that are contrary to the Constitution and law, human laws, international laws and common decency, then you can kill me. That's what it means when you say that. And why would you even bring God into the question? Why would you even bring God into the equation if you didn't mean, oh yeah, it means if I violate my oath of office, you can kill me. It means that, because otherwise God is irrelevant to it. That's why they use the word God, because that's the ultimate judgment. It means that, oh, by the way, if I violate my oath of office that I just took and swore to uphold and abide by and obey and protect and defend the Constitution, etc., and the rights of humanity in my country, and respect the rights of humanity in other countries, then I violated that, and I acknowledge that if I do, you can execute me for crimes against humanity or violating the oath of office that I made. That's what it means. That's why it came into being. That's why they added it on to the back of things. If you go to a court, and I don't know today whether they do it or not, I don't think they do, but if you go to court and you say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. That means, if you don't, they can kill you. Because if you're not going to go to heaven and face God, personally, face to face, and say, God, help me, because you can, saying, oh, God, help me, because they're going to put me in a jail cell for 20 years or whatever, doesn't really apply, because that's not the realm of God. And by the way, I'm an atheist, so, don't even think about it. So help me God. So where was I? Ah, yes. George Bush committed crimes against humanity, period. Case closed, end of story. No, and he's been convicted in various courts around the world. All right, number 5. Mass murdering genocidal maniacs. Don't need to say anything more about that because they have committed mass murder, they have committed genocide, and they are maniacs. By any definition of the word, it applies to them, the government of the United States and various presidents and lesser officials and senators and congressmen, whose obligation under the law that they took an oath to obey and protect and defend, etc., says if you do this, you're guilty. Follow me? All right. Number 6, murderers, torturers, kidnappers, drug dealers. Yeah, remember Afghanistan, poppies, heroin, CIA drug smuggling operations, etc., etc. Drug dealers, baby killers. Now, I mean real babies. I'm not talking about fetuses. Okay? So don't go into that, abortion shit, because I know better. And you're not, just don't be an idiot and talk about, abortion's murdering babies. Because that's just absolute, utterly fucking stupid. Yeah, it is. Okay, though they have murdered many pregnant women around the world over the past 100 years or so. If you think dropping a bomb on, let's say, Hiroshima, where I'm sure there were lots of pregnant women at the time, you probably murdered them because they're dead and you incinerated them with your frickin' bomb. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Crime against humanity. And Harry Truman was president, so I'm guessing that bastard should have been executed for his crimes. Equal to Adolf Hitler, in my opinion. All right. Number 7. The only way to stop monsters, tyrants, and bullies is to lock them up in a mental institution because they're insane, or put them in prisons for life because they've committed crimes that deserve nothing less than being totally removed from a society and put in a frickin' place where they will not hurt anybody else ever again. And, I'm kind of in favor of punishment for real crimes like murdering people by the thousands. Or, if you want to stop a bully and a tyrant and a pig and a scumbag like, George W. Bush and others, then, you can kill them. They took an oath, says, if I break the law, if I violate my constitution, if I violate my oath and my promises to obey and protect, defend the Constitution, etc., which means the human rights of Americans and other people around the world, actually, then you can kill me. That's what I just told you. That's what so help me God means. And I think, albeit by public execution after they are convicted of their crimes based on the facts, the evidence, and testimony of the victims and witnesses to their crimes, of which there are millions of people who can testify. And many of them testify every day on Facebook and Google Plus and so on, other social media, and on their blogs and websites and so on, of which I am one. I give testimony daily on the crimes against humanity that the government commits. Apparently without any repercussions. Apparently without any responsibility being placed on them for their crimes. Number 8. Collaborators with these monsters and criminals should be summarily shunned. That is to say, never again given aid and comfort, support, and the benefits of our affections or shelter. They should not be treated like, decent human beings. They should be cast out of society and left to wander in the desert of guilt and fucking monstrosity until they die. Another phone call. Well, Jesus. So, where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by the telephone? Who, as it turns out, didn't even bother to answer when I answered. All right. Where was I? Unfreaking believable. All right, I wanted to finish up this one thing here. Where was I? I was reading this little piece. All right, I'll wrap it up. Reading from my note. I don't think any intelligent person has any doubt that this country, particularly its government, has gone completely insane. The criminally insane Nazi police state bastards, totalitarian bullies, and mindless drone maniacs need to be removed from society forthwith and confined in a mental institution for the criminally insane. I'm talking about government people. Or removed from the planet. And I'm not kidding. These monsters, the government, and those who collaborate with these criminal government have turned this country into a living hell. It's time to put them down like any rabid animal that threatens human life and human freedom. I seriously believe that the only way that this country is going to be saved, the only way that we're going to regain our freedom and our human dignity is to put down these mad dogs. I think armed rebellion is the only way that we're going to save this country. I hate to say that. I'm not a violent man. I have avoided violence in my life as much as I possibly could. I've never been involved in the government military terrorist organization. I refused to be a part of it years ago. Back when they were committing these crimes against humanity in Vietnam, when Americans, young men, were being drafted, that is to say, forced to go into the military and forced to become insane, murdering lunatics for empire, for the terrorist organization known as the United States government, I refused. I fought the United States military, and I won. That was a personal victory. It didn't change the course of the government. It didn't change the way the history of humanity has progressed in the direction towards freaking hell. But a personal victory for me. Because they said, you are drafted. You are going to be in the military. You are going to go to Vietnam. And I said, fuck you. Hell no. Now, I really it really pisses me off today when I hear people say, oh, that guy was a draft dodger. Now, just between you and me, that's a matter of definition. Draft dodger seems to cover everybody that refused to be a part of the murderous military of the United States. You refused to participate in a criminal act of criminal aggression against a foreign country that had nothing to do with us, that never attacked us, that did not pose a threat to us, the American people and America. So when someone called me a draft dodger, I wasn't a draft dodger. I didn't dodge anything. I walked straight into the fucking recruiting station, or in this case the draft board, and said straight out, I'm not going to try to draft it, avoid it. I'm not going to dodge it. I'm looking you straight in the face, draft board assholes, and I'm not going to do that. It's wrong, it's a crime, and I'm not doing it. Period. Not going to happen. I walked into the recruiting station, or the, what they call it, induction center at those times. And they were going to take a test to see. I said, I was drafted, and I went in to take the test, the written test. And I went in, and just a week before that, a young man had gone in and taken cameras, news crews from the local TV stations or whatever, and got on the news that he had gone in and protested and so forth. Well, they didn't want that to happen again, so when I went in a week later, when I reported a week later, They didn't want that attention. They didn't want the news people in there with the cameras recording me, talking to them and saying to them, you criminals, you traitors, you murdering bastards. I'm not going to participate in your crimes against humanity, and I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to go, and I'm not going to be in your freaking military. Well, the guy at the desk just didn't even lift up his head, didn't even look up. He just kept working on whatever his paper he's working on there, and he just pointed with his hand in that room, indicating I should go into a room where there were desks, and you go in, you sit down, and so on and so on. There wasn't any confronting this man. He was not even going to make eye contact with me, the piece of shit. So I went in the room, and I gave a test, and I said, you know what? If I take this test, there's no way to fail the test. I mean, if you answer all the questions wrong, then they'll figure, well, you're too stupid to do any kind of intellectual work, so we'll just give him a gun and point him in the right direction and say, hey, go kill people with that. So if you take the test and you're a total idiot, then they'll take you in and let you be cannon fodder. But if you show it intelligence on that test and you say, oh, you've got an aptitude for something, they might say, well, we're going to take you because you're smart enough to be able to, like fly an airplane or work a radar system. So taking a test was, there was no pass or fail. It was just a matter of where they would put you, depending on what you answered. I actually took the test. I never heard anything about it, whether it was a pass or failed or good or bad or whatever. I don't know. But I did. And now I kind of wish I'd refused to take the test. I just should have just not answered any of the questions at all. Not that it would have done me any good, but at least I would have had moral dignity intact, and I could have said, I didn't cooperate with these animals. Nazi bastards. The bottom line is I didn't go. The draft board, I applied for conscientious objector. I had the testimony of people that knew me, that claimed that I was a conscientious objector and that I should be exempt. In other words, I played by the rules. I did the procedure as it was available to me. So I went in to have a meeting with the draft board. A bunch of old guys, old ex-military guys apparently, and one guy must have been 100 years old, sitting there falling asleep during the interview with me, which I thought was pretty amazing considering I was saying some pretty exciting stuff, and you shouldn't be falling asleep when I'm saying this stuff. Should have been paying attention. Because I was telling them the law and so forth, like involuntary servitude is against the law. That's a violation of the law, violation of the Constitution, etc. Slavery is not allowed in America. They didn't buy it. I said, you mean you can't kill for your country? And I said, you must be mistaken. You've misunderstood. You've misinterpreted. I am a conscientious objector to your criminal acts against foreign countries and the murdering of foreign people. You are a criminal, and I am not objecting to killing people who are bad, evil people, like you people here sitting at this table, because you are traitors, and you are guilty of crimes against humanity. So no, I'm not opposed to killing bad guys like you people. I'm just opposed to committing crimes against humanity under the guise of defending my country, which is bullshit. I'll defend my country right here against domestic enemies like the draft board. Whoa, that kind of didn't set right with these assholes. I'm not a conscientious objector on religious grounds of killing people. I'm a conscientious objector to my government going to foreign countries, invading foreign countries that have no reason or justification for invading that foreign country, and murdering the innocent men, women, and children in that country. That's what I object to conscientiously. But I'm not doing it. And the sooner you stop doing it, the better. And I will do whatever I can to make you stop doing that crime against humanity. And the draft is a crime because it's a free country and involuntary servitude is against the law. So anyway, the final bottom line was they said, well, if you don't go when we call you, we'll arrest you and you'll probably go to jail for 5 years for refusing to be drafted or whatever. And I said, here it comes. Come and get me, motherfucker. You know where I live. I'll be there. Come and get me. Oh, send someone you don't like, because more than likely he won't be coming back. End quote. So I went home. Didn't think any much about it, but I just waited. Went about my business. The cowards never showed up. They didn't show up. They were going to come and get me and drag me off to jail for refusing to be a murdering bastard like them. But they didn't show up. Guess what? I win. I'm kind of glad they didn't show up because I would hate to have to prove my patriotism for my country and for freedom by shooting the traitor in the face. Now, come on. I don't think I would have actually done that. But on the other hand, I didn't evade the draft by running off to Canada like a pussy. Now, I want to understand. I don't blame people for going to Canada to avoid being drafted and going into Vietnam and murdering innocent people. I mean, if that's the only solution you can think of to do, yes, fine, go for it. And those people who went to Canada and so on, I have nothing bad to say about them. They did the best they could. But I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm not going to disrupt my life and leave my home and go hide like a fugitive in Canada when my country is committing crimes against humanity, not only in foreign countries like Vietnam at the time, but also right here in America by putting innocent men, young men, in prison for refusing to be a criminal, for refusing to participate in their crimes against humanity. I didn't go, and they didn't come and get me. Thank God. That's a term of speech. I don't believe in God. So, that's what I did. So I'm not a draft dodger. I am a freedom fighter. And I will fight for freedom. Because if you threaten my life and my freedom, you best be prepared to pay the consequences. Because bullies do not bully me without consequences. Nazi bastard police state motherfuckers should be aware that there are people in America who will not tolerate that. I'm not the only one. You're not going to take away my life and my freedom, and you're sure as hell not going to threaten my life without consequences. So don't fucking do it. I don't want to ruin my record. I'm almost 70 years old and I've never killed a human being in my life. Please do not force me to break that record. Because I will not allow you to kill me without a fight. In fact, I will fight to the death for my freedom, for my country, for my life, to the death. Not mine. Let that sink in. That's all I have to say for now. D. McClung, Archer Monologues, exercising free speech. A natural, inalienable human right of all human beings around the planet. I'll catch you next time. Have a good day.